Hey guys, August 3rd through the 28th, I'm in Edinburgh, Scotland, doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival with Brendan Burns. We're watching bad wrestling and making great jokes. We're doing the show every single night and would love for you to come if you're in the UK. Even if you're not in the UK, make a trip up to Scotland. Information is at coltcabana.com. I know you're going to love that show, but for now, enjoy this show.
This is The Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on in, sit down, relax. You're about to listen to The Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway into the minds, the souls, the hearts, and the lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I'm your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I'm a man with Irish pride. Actually, I'm a total straight Jewish dude, but this week I was dabbling in a little bit of everything. Most importantly, though, I am a professional wrestler. I am sitting here live in my studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. Before I go any further, this is a fan supported and listener supported podcast supported by people just like you. We give it to you free of charge every single Thursday. ColtCabana.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Maybe you got the Howl app or wherever you get your podcasts from. A couple great ways that you can support, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell a friend. Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter. You know the deal. Best way that you can support, though, digitalcolt.com, coltmerch.com. T-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, digital downloads. Digitalcolt.com is now newly set up. You don't even need a screen name. You can just order it directly there. It goes right to you. Great ways to support coltmerch.com, digitalcolt.com. Let's do some business stuff. Not really business stuff. I am now on the Howl app. The Howl app has officially happened. You can always listen for free on iTunes for the first 6 months. Just have it, download it, and then it will be there forever. That's how easy it is. But if you do want to listen to the back catalogs, there's some crazy old ones on howl.fm on the website. Sign up, use that code COLT, get a free month. Also, Pro Wrestling Tees is having their July 4th sale. Use the code AMERICA. You can get 20% off everything, including these Colt Cabana tank tops for 4th of July that are pretty rockin'. I've snuck some new shirts up there. There's a thanks one that's up there that looks like the old thank you grocery bags. There's the whole United Colts of America that was featured on my episode of Marin that I did that now just has the name Colt and Cabana. And I think Utah is Boom Boom, fittingly, of course. And there's some other good ones up there on ProWrestlingTees.com/Colt. You should go there and buy something good. Speaking of something good, RJ City is on the podcast this week. And RJ is exactly what the spirit of this show is, much like Congo Kong, but completely different from Congo Kong and just who he is, his attitude, his outlook on life. What ties them together is they both love wrestling. They're both good dudes. Maybe you've never heard of RJ City, and maybe he hasn't come to your town on the West Coast or the Mid-South or even the South or even in some different country, but he's trying. He wants to, and he deserves to, but it's hard. It's hard to break out. It's hard to break through. Maybe when you learn about him and you hear about him, that'll change. I had a weird conversation where Kevin Nash and I both agreed that this guy is great, and we didn't understand why more people didn't know about him. It's one thing to have the old Colt Cabana stamp of approval, but Big Sexy? I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. He throws you in that paparazzi productions, and you're a star. That's all he needed. I think it goes hand in hand with having RJ on while this CWC thing was going on, taping this past week. The fact that there's a lot of really good guys that maybe people don't know about, and maybe you should. And I'm very happy for guys like Tyson Dukes and Arya Davari, the Bollywood boys, Tony Nese. A lot of these really talented wrestlers that don't get the exposure that they should now get a little bit, And now some of you guys are going to be like, oh, I love this guy. And all you had to do was a little bit of research. And I think RJ's on the same path. And it's cool. He's looking for something. He's trying to find his way in wrestling. He's trying to find his purpose, his goal, whatever it might be on the other side of the rainbow, if you will. Speaking of Pride Week, I related to him in trying to get exactly to where we're trying to get. So I hope you enjoy RJ being on the show. Yeah, the other side of the rainbow. That was a great segue by me. I was in Ireland this week, and fuck, man, did I have a great time. And I shouldn't have said fuck, man, as it was a Pride Week. And 2 dudes grabbed my dick this week. Pretty happy about it. The show was Pride Show. The show was, it was the Pride Festival. Sadly, I met a guy named Mr. Bear 2015 Illinois, and he wanted to book me for this gig where I'd be the straight dude doing commentary with a drag queen at the Chicago Pride Festival, Pride Parade. And like, I was kind of bummed because I was going to be out of town. I wasn't going to be able to see it or do it or take part of that. And I've been to the Chicago Pride Festival a number of times whenever I'm in town. I always think it's a fun thing to go to and support and just, I don't know, take it all in, And then I realized, this is happening everywhere. And while in Ireland, it was also happening in Dublin where we were. So I did the show for OTT. I'll talk about that in just a second. But afterwards, I met a friend through my friend Lee, who I met through this podcast and social media, and we just started talking. And then Lee and I became buddies, and he came out, we were chit-chatting, then he left, and then his friend was like, hey, you want to go to this thing? And I was like, let's go to this rave that was a part of the wrestling show. There was this crazy outdoor pride rave, and we went out, and we raved a little bit. Pretty fun, sober raving. A dude smelled my armpit, and then he tickled my dick a little bit, which was, I guess, I felt a part of something. I felt a part of a community, and that was fun. When in Rome, I guess. When in Ireland, let a gay dude tickle your dick. I was in Ireland. I did Limerick, I did Dublin, I did Belfast. One was Pro Wrestling Ulster in Belfast. Two were for OTT. Over the Top Wrestling. You're going to hear in a couple of weeks. I sat down with Luther Ward. We podcasted a little bit, but he's helped resurrecting kind of the 18-plus scene, adult-type wrestling scene over in Ireland. And it was a lot of fun. It's hard for a guy like me. I go in these locker rooms and maybe I don't know anybody. And then maybe if some guys like try to become too familiar, it's a little standoffish for me and I get a little overbearing because I do have like weird kind of social anxiety issues. That's weird saying here on a podcast, but it's true, so it's like you got to find that perfect level. And this locker room was great. It was the perfect level of comfortable, but not too overbearing. And I felt like I fit right into the fun and the goof-offiness level that these guys brought. Very easy, a great crew, some real stars over there. And, my only regret was that I wasn't able to see a little bit more of Ireland than I got to see because I was just traveling around a little bit. I did get to walk around Dublin Saturday and take a lot of it in, so I'll let that be my sightseeing for the day. I saw the Dublin Castle. But OTT, just unbelievable. Great shows over there. Hopefully I get to go back, do a little bit more damage over there. Ulster was great too. Just good, fuck. It was good. All my money just totally devalued as I went over there because the UK just split as I was there, but, it's not all about the money. You do it for the good times. So especially that trip when all your money just devalues because everyone's just fighting. But I'm not fighting. The only thing I'm fighting for is to look good, and I can do that with the sponsor of the Song of the Week this week. Transition, what'd you think? Good? Yeah, I think so. 54 Club Apparel at 54club.com is the sponsor this week. And before I get into this ad read and the information that you should know, just know that today I opened up my P.O. box and there was just a plethora of clothes for me to be wearing. So when you see me at the Fringe probably this year, stylish as ever, and I'm on stage and you're like, Colt, but every year you just wear shitty t-shirts and flip-flops, and now you're like, Colt, you look so stylish. It's literally because of 54club.com. I would just be too lazy to buy stuff, but when they send me these sweet care packages, I look like a real babe, and I'm happy to do it. A babe in my mind, maybe not to you, but let me have this one. They're sending stylish and amazing clothes and accessories out of Los Angeles once a month. If you have the budget, then 54 makes perfect sense. $60 a month, free shipping, and they just send you really nice, fashionable clothes. As you'll be able to see me on stage this summer, you don't have to go out, you don't have to try stuff, they just send it to you. 54 is an actual brand. You can't get it in stores. You have to be a member. Just go on the website. It's an easy sign-up process. Maybe you want to go on a date, or you're lying around, or you need to go to church or temple, or you want to go to a wrestling show. You can pick from casual, classic, forward, or mix. I pick casual, obviously. Every month you'll get brand new stuff, and you can build up your wardrobe, diversify your look, get different clothes for different seasons. Just go to 54club.com, use the code COLT, and get 50% off your first month. That's like $150 in clothes for only $30. FIVEFOUR club.com. Use that code COLT. Start looking good. The song this week is by a band called Cheap Pop. At Cheap Pop is a band on Twitter. Buy their all wrestling inspired album In Gorilla at cheappop.bandcamp.com. This song is called WrestleMania 3. Enjoy, and we'll be back with RJ City.
There's so many belts I wanna see at WrestleMania 3. The hammer and beefcake will go against the brothers
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, this episode is also brought to you by Loot Crate, which is a monthly subscription box service for epic geek and gamer items and pop culture gear. For less than $20 a month, you can get 4 to 8 items that include licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique, one-of-a-kind items, and more. Make sure you head to lootcrate.com/Colt, enter the code COLT, and save $3 on any new subscription. Loot Crate is not just a subscription service, though. It's an entire community of fans that share their experience and interaction with each other around the unboxing of each month's crates, and they guarantee you $40+ in value every crate. Sometimes it's a lot more. Every month there's a different theme, and all the themes are curated around that theme. Previous crates included themes like Star Wars, Marvel, The Walking Dead, The Legend of Zelda, and more. Join them in July while they celebrate futuristic items from Rick and Morty, Futurama, Star Trek, Mega Man, Valiant Comics, and Star Trek, including a model, a figure, and don't forget their monthly t-shirt and pin. Remember, you only have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific, and when that cutoff happens, it's over. Go to lootcrate.com/Colt, enter the code COLT, save $3 on your monthly subscription today.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, good evening. Good afternoon, good evening. Hello.
It's so nice to be with you.
RJ.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, we're on.
Good.
Gum over here.
Oh, that's that's classless.
What do we think we do with this?
I'm a gum swallower.
What?
So, yeah, you're not, there's no, and there's like, oh, it stays 7 years. That's not a thing.
I don't believe that, but I'm not. It doesn't taste good.
Hangs on your ribs. You know what? I just got, you're familiar?
I just got into gum. I just got into gum swallowing.
You know what I just had?
That sigh was for me throwing my gum in the wastebasket and completely missing. And you were super disappointed about it.
He's one of my heroes. And
Me?
to see him throw so, can I start off by saying when I first started, blatantly stole some of your spots?
I think a lot of people did that.
Yeah, and saw that they didn't work when I did them. And I went, why is it? And oh, okay. You have to kind of get your own. But I guess if you're starting a band,
Yeah, comedy.
you know what I mean?
Well, when I hear comedy, I always hear of course, people, just from me listening, being a big comedy mark, you just hear listening to all these podcasts, you hear everyone starts doing Attell's cadence, and even Dane Cook's cadence.
But I guess that's
Chris Rock's cadence, and then you learn your thing,
right,
and then you get out of that.
Yes, because I guess you find. Yes, I think everyone almost starts off as kind of an impressionist in a certain way.
It's a good idea. It's a good fun thing to talk about. Is not stealing. Because I find it weird that people steal independent wrestlers' stuff. I find that super weird.
Well, I think they steal it with the intent that no one will know that they're stealing it, and they can get away with it.
I get it if someone does the RKO. I get it if someone does the stunner on the indie shows, and even these higher class independent. But I think it's super weird if let's say the Young Bucks are really getting over the super kick, and then it's super weird if then you're doing this. Not you, I'm saying you, but if someone's I'm going to do the super kick, or I don't even know. Maybe there's a better example of that.
Well, no, I mean people think for example, Stairway to Heaven's over. If we play Stairway to Heaven, people are going to like us, and it's well, no, it's how you. Do you know what I mean? You have to find your own thing. You can't just say these are the hits.
So what did you steal?
Oh my God, what did I steal? A tackle trip spot, something like that. But this was before this is weird. I would download. They would have LimeWire and stuff. Yeah. Do you remember post Napster? There was a couple.
What are the other ones? People will probably hit us up. Yeah.
And I think a tomato torrent kind of thing. But you would download Match clips. Odd, and they would only partially download because I didn't have fast. You had the dial-up, and then my parents needed the computer, so I had to get off. So I would get the opening spots, just your opening stuff.
What would it be? It would be on LimeWire. You type in funny wrestling or ROH.
You just type in wrestling and boom, and 90% of the files were Sid breaking his leg.
Did you watch it?
Almost repeatedly. I would keep downloading it and showing it to people.
You never got weirded out by that? I can't watch it.
I did, but I was oh my God.
I can't watch Hayabusa.
No.
I can't, whenever, because for the comedy show that I do, we do botches and stuff like that. And I'll type in YouTube all the time, weird stuff. And sometimes I'll see a compilation whenever Hayabusa comes in. And for those who don't know, that Hayabusa does a acai moonsault in the ring, I guess a Jericho salt, and just fucking lands on top of his head, and I always turn my head or close my eyes.
But I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, it's almost rude to just call that a botch. That's like a horrific accident.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just say, "Oh, you flubbed a little there."
Right.
It's very just mean.
And even Sid.
I was like, "Oh," and Sid, and it's weird to now that I'm older, I found the match and just watch it in context. Not even that I watched.
what's the I don't even know.
Just the match, like
I know, but what is it? I don't even know.
You know, he's having a match, and then what happens after, what everyone does, because you really only see the break usually, and then the file.
You're
ends.
watching it as a real person now with real feelings.
Yeah, and it's rough.
As opposed to being a 17-year-old guy who's like, oh, amazing.
Yes.
Let me go.
Because I was also it was very much the jackass age, so it was part and parcel with that. Similar when they would do everything they did.
Fuck. Now you think about, he had kids, he had a mortgage, he had insurance, and then he had to spend 10 days in the hospital, and they had to reset it, and how much that hurt.
Just brutal. And then, speaking of jackass, I drove here with Danny Doring.
Okay.
Because we're in Niagara Falls, and we're getting close. There's a wonderful antiquing village over here that has, you'll see, it's a big sign that says antiques, and it's a little village, and people sell their stuff.
Isn't that when you
So he thought, I said, do you want to go antiquing? And he's like, does that mean you throw flour on
That's what I
people or
thought,
something?
yeah.
I'm like, what? Are you out of your mind?
Oh, that comes from Jackass.
Yeah, I was like, no, I mean, let's look at old things. Right. So
Which you're into.
I'm like a 60-year-old woman.
Which, yeah.
That's the best way I can.
We can set up RJ City on here on context. As you are, you're you're just an odd dude.
Odd fellow.
I'm wondering how weird this is going to be, but it's going well so far.
Yeah, I did. I blew it. I psyched myself out when you told me. You're like, hey, do you want to do this? I was like, sure. And then I had like a couple days. Like, my mind is not my friend. I looked on your Instagram to see who else has been on the show recently. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, there's like all good people.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, the one that hit me the hardest, Scott Norton. And I'm like, does he want to be in the same grouping as me?
So here's why you're important to have on the show.
Okay.
Because I have had like a lot of great guests on recently, and I've realized that. And
to balance
this
it
is
out.
going to be the greatest backhanded compliment you've ever
hit me.
My question is not my question is like, I think you're a guy who like, that sounds lame, who has it.
Okay.
But I don't think anyone has any clue who the fuck you are, man.
Okay.
Don't take that.
No.
But I think and you're exactly what I want people to know about you. And so it's like, that's the power of my podcast.
That's sweet of you.
Right? Is
Yes.
that like, I feel like I have this opportunity, and it sounds like almost like big-headed, like I've heard people say like, oh, you talk down to some people and you talk, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I hope I don't come off like any of that.
Yes.
But maybe there is a divide of where we are in our careers. But
Certainly.
I'm trying to, I want to give you not a little rub, but like, I think the world needs to know, and I want to kind of get into your head of like, do you think like, how come I haven't had a break, or why am I not a guy who's breaking when other people are breaking, or something like that. So, I mean, hopefully that comes up in the flow.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if that goes on, if that weighs on you, if that's something you think about it.
I'll tell you let me compare. The last backhanded compliment I had was, you're not an asshole, but I can see how people think you are.
Okay.
That was the last one I had.
Yeah.
So compared to this you said I had it. I believe you said it.
No, I don't.
You didn't? You sure?
I never want to say, I hate that.
Can we play back the tape?
I hate that.
Isn't
you
that a
have
weird
it.
thing? Doesn't that get in your head when people say that to you?
It's not a real thing.
It's not a thing. It's so arbitrary.
Yes.
And you always take into context who the person is who's telling you. You know what I mean?
What does that mean?
Well, who's telling you that you have it? Does that person have it? Right. Can they? Who
are they to decide what it is?
I've not seen movies because certain people have told me they love them. And I go, well, I'm absolutely not seeing it now.
The only thing I can compare to that is my college roommate was so unlucky. I knew nothing about college basketball, but he was like, Duke's gonna win, guarantee. I'm putting $75 on it. I go, I'll take that bet. I don't even know who's playing, but you're so unlucky. And
of course,
the Duke lost, and I won money. So I wouldn't say you have it. Maybe I did say it. Fuck.
You did it. You said,
but you're good.
Thank you.
You're good.
That's sweet of you. And I'm a tad unusual.
Yes.
Right?
Maybe why I like you. So let's get off the blowjob fest
All
here.
right. Are we done?
And let's.
Thank you.
I thought, are we done with the podcast? Is that
that's it?
So, okay. So, I mean, I just watched you do your set.
Okay. Yes.
You just wrestled.
Yes.
Yeah, and did you like it? What'd you think?
I did like it. It was with Tony Nese and Alex Reynolds, and we have not touched before. They've wrestled before. They're familiar with each other, and it's one of those matches where that went, not horribly, but it's almost like, when you ever make out with somebody for the first time, and you're like, oh, that's where your teeth are. Okay, I will remember that when we kiss. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, this is how you kiss. I didn't, and then you're like, okay, next time I'm ready for
No,
this.
I'm not going to kiss them again.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
If you're a shit kisser?
No, if you're a shit kisser, people have their own style, and you're like, oh, this is who this person is. You know, when you kiss somebody for the first time, you're like, it's a whole new mouth. And your brain is like, what's happening here?
If it doesn't flow together.
Did Scott Norton talk about this?
It's going to make out with you. Yeah, I said I touched his nipples because that's
Fantastic.
yeah.
But yeah, so no, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, that kind of worked, and I wish you had another crack at it instantly, because you're like...
And you won't. And especially
never.
in our schedule. When's your next match? When's your next show?
Next week.
Next week.
And it's totally different people. I'm in a 4-way, totally different town. And that's like frustrating to me that you can't really get on a roll with people.
Or on shows. Does it upset you that like you can't have a show tomorrow and the next day and the next day?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is there an opportunity to have these kind
Certainly.
to work a lot up here?
Yes and no. Maybe not of the same or high quality. You know what I mean? And then, of course, I always pepper it during the week when there's no shows. Like I'm doing 2 comedy shows next week, just because there's no shows on.
To throw in entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a fun.
So is your because you are like what's the word? Shut the fuck up. You're a ham.
Yes.
You're a ham.
Okay.
And so I think everyone loves it when they learn that you were on a Nickelodeon show.
Yeah, right.
And you're an actor.
Yes.
Is that, I guess the right answer for this on a wrestling podcast is, you're a baby face if you say, yes, I do it all for wrestling, and you're a heel if you say, no, I don't give a fuck. But like, does it come for wrestling, or like when you're doing these comedy shows, are you like, I'm getting my chops, I'm doing something because I can't wrestle?
No, absolutely not. I've always looked at it, even when I was a kid, the wrestling and the Muppet Show, in my head, they're the same thing, where it's a bunch of over-the-top characters, and they're kind of trying to put on a show, and then stuff happens backstage, and they're running around. It's always kind of been the same in my head. Now, it is different when I do a comedy show. I'm going for a different goal. I'm not like a heel, but it's a totally...
So you see it all as just one entertainment ball.
It's a crowd of people who want to be entertained.
See, but if I do comedy shows, like I'm up here because I can't be wrestling right now.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think.
And I think you did comedy, I would say, through wrestling.
Yes.
I kind of
You don't even touch wrestling.
try to separate. I mean, I do, because people know that I do, and there's like, I'm not like an average comedian-looking guy, but I like to not mention it from doing stand-up or something. I don't want to be like, this wrestling, it's fake, and it's just like, I wanted to go do other stuff. But all doing that stuff has helped my wrestling, like the crowd work and the promos. Like I go out there now and have no idea what I'm going to say, and just totally comfortable that, like, yeah, I can talk to this crowd and listen to it, and we'll find something. And that comes from doing so much improv and knowing we'll get somewhere.
Yeah. So what's like the theater and entertainment aspect that you do or have or trained or are in? So you do stand up, you do improv. Are you?
I mainly do like improv and sketch comedy in Toronto.
Okay.
A lot. There's a bunch of different shows at that comedy bar, which and it's very busy. They have a bunch of stuff going on. We did this is a weird cross section. We did like a 5-week run of a improv show that took place backstage at a wrestling show.
Okay.
That was the gimmick.
He was doing quotations.
Yeah. So,
No point of doing quotation. No point of
sorry,
quotation.
everyone. And this is when everyone shuts this off. Which was fun
Yeah.
and weird to play with the wrestling aspect and see how that could fit into comedy.
Did it work?
It does. This is the weirdest thing. Me and Nug,
Yeah.
Nug? We'll do a game, an improv game, where it's let's say he's a cab driver, and then we get into an argument, and the bell rings, and we, almost like Celebrity Deathmatch, we'll perform moves on each other, we'll mime it, but the audience will call out the move, and we'll have to name You know what I mean? They'll say the Canadian lawnmower, and we have to do whatever that is. And we'll mime it, and it's so funny when you give people the rules of what we're doing that they'll pop just like it's a wrestling match.
Are you doing the physical move?
Well, we're miming it. Like I start up the lawnmower and then mow him over the face.
Gotcha.
So we're not doing, you know what I mean? If you give people the rules of this is what we're doing and you sell it like you believe in it, they follow along. And that's the craziest thing to me.
Well, which is also kind of what we've seen with the world of wrestling.
Right.
The more people are invited in on what's going on, and the more people still know what's going on and still check themselves out at the door.
Yeah.
And
It's just like, it reminds me of like if you do a thing with like Dick Justice and the imaginary gun in wrestling, and everyone in that show believes in the gun, the rules of the imaginary gun.
Yeah.
And people react to it. People I find, just want to play along. You know? What are we doing? This is what we're doing? Cool. I paid $20. I will enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Just stick with the rules you gave me and we'll be cool.
Right.
You know?
Okay, so when did you start wrestling?
When did I start wrestling?
That was the question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When my uncle moved to Maryland, when maybe I was 12.
Are you Canadian?
I'm Canadian.
Yeah, because you're weird.
Yes. Most of my family lives in the States. He moved into this town called Hagerstown, and we were driving through town, and me and my dad found this place, this wrestling school.
When you were 12?
Yeah, because we were just driving through town, and we went, oh my God, his name was John Rambo.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You're a product of Rambo?
I wouldn't say I'm a well, let me get into you're jumping the story.
No, but I'm so excited. I'm
He,
well aware, and everyone here who has read the PWI magazine
yes.
from 1997,
Yes.
94 to 97 knows who John Rambo is.
So I would go, anytime I saw my uncle in the summers, I would just go pester him. And he was so nice, let me come to the matches and blah, blah, blah.
He lives there.
Yes. And he would, it was just fascinating to me at the time. I had no concept of indie wrestling, and this is just like a
What about
total
wrestling
shot
at
in
all?
the face. Yes, wrestling at all. Of course, always. I was cutting promos before I could speak, really. Does that shock you? Like a kid, how a kid...
No, but that doesn't make any sense.
Before I could say coherent sentences, I was cutting promos as a kid. Royal Rumble and
Okay.
So
All right,
you
fair
know
enough.
what I mean.
Yeah.
You want the tape? Do you want me to bring in the tape?
No.
So yeah, I would just pester him.
Well,
and he was-
sorry, I'm going to
yes.
take you back. Why was so wrestling was in the house?
Yeah, I think it was my parents' fault. They were kind of just let's support our child with whatever he enjoys. It was that, and also
But what, wrestling was on TV?
wrestling was on TV.
You saw it.
I honestly don't remember.
Your
not
parents were
knowing.
or were not super into it? It's just
My dad's
casual.
a fan. My mom knows it. Yeah. It wasn't like they're super fans, but
My mom knows who Andre the Giant is.
yes,
And probably
of course.
Junkyard Dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was also that, and this is very weird and explains a lot. I was, as a kid, like in kindergarten, I was doing routines of like Milton Berle on The Muppet Show and Ethel Merman. I thought it was like hilarious. So I've always been basically 60 years old in my head.
I'm going to cut you. Have you
yes.
ever wrestled in California?
No.
Do you know Dave Marquez? Have you ever he runs
Yes.
championship wrestling?
Yes.
You guys would be best friends.
We can do some vaudeville.
Yes, I'm gonna match you guys together.
Please.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I was always doing that stuff as a kid. There was always some sort of energy to burn through, I guess, performing something, and it was certainly that. And yes, go ahead.
Siblings?
Yes, I have a younger brother.
Were you guys doing plays and stuff, or are they not?
Yeah. And I was clear. It was I was obsessive. He was a little more normal. He certainly played along because everyone as a kid does that stuff. But yeah, I guess I just never let it go, which is the main thing. And then, so yeah, where are we? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, what wrestling is in the house.
Wrestling's in the house, and
Cutting promos as a baby.
cutting promos, just very obsessive with it, always, and entertaining alongside it. That was always a thing. This is a creepy thing. Do you know when you're a kid and you play hockey's Canadian? So when you have
I played hockey.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they take your picture and they do the card. They give you like your player card.
Sure.
And on the back they write the stuff. It says hobbies. And I don't know, 7, 8. Wrestling / entertaining. Future ambition, wrestler / entertainer. Which is really an obscure combination.
Right.
For a kid to
And
say.
it wasn't even known as like sports entertainment then either,
No.
right? Yeah.
No. But what a schmaltzy term.
Yeah.
Entertainer.
What a term, schmaltzy.
Schmaltzy. Scott Norton used that, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a weird, I'll do a little bit of everything, which is very weird.
But wrestler was first.
Wrestler was first.
Okay, so you're 12 years old, John Rambo, you're hanging out.
Just pestering him kind of every summer. He let us come, and this is, come to the shows. And I distinctly remember a gentleman by the name of Dorian DeVille.
Yes.
Who I believe his name was the Human Cadillac.
Of course.
And he had like a weird kind of mohawky thing and a Superman shirt. And when you're a kid, guys like that are like 9 feet. They're like Bill Brask.
Well, he is 9 feet. Yeah.
Yes. Which is just crazy. And then, he let me just roll around a little bit and just be a kid. And
Are we going to get to who Dorian DeVille is?
Oh, do they not? No one knows? Okay.
They do.
Okay.
Not, most of them do.
So I thought, that's memorable. Someone that height, especially when you're that young. You're like, so years later, turns out Dorian DeVille is one Luke Gallows.
Yeah. Did you know that, or did you maybe through maybe my podcast or something, or
No. I mean, I knew that afterwards.
Once you saw him on TV, you're like hey, that was Dorian DeVille.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure he doesn't remember a 12-year-old with a pubic mustache
I don't know,
staring
man.
at him.
Were you rolling around the ring or anything, or?
No, I don't think so. When he was there, but
you see, and you'll not correct me if it's wrong, but it's just when I've done so much stuff. I've traveled the world, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I remember everything from my first year.
Yes.
Those training sessions and the people and the random people. It's just because I don't know. It was so new and fresh. So I wouldn't be surprised if he remembered a little thing like a 12-year-old guy. Yeah.
The one thing I remember from there just so vividly is there's a training going on. People are, just rolling in and out of the ring, nothing structured. Some guy comes up to the door and I hear Rambo yell, and he's got this very deep voice, "Kayfabe!" And the heels got with the heels and the babies got with the babies on the other side of the room. And I was like, oh my God. I've just never.
It's like the army.
Yeah, and then they just stand there awkwardly.
Was it for you?
No, it's just some guy, and then they checked him out, and they're like, oh, it's okay.
Right.
Like, wow, it's just amazing to me to see it,
Is John Rambo your mentor? Do you know?
No, I know. I've spoken to him.
Okay.
Speak to the fellow. He's a nice guy. And so, yeah, I would pester him, and then as I got older in Canada, I met Asylum at the gym, Canadian grappler, and he introduced me to, you may know this, you're an indie aficionado, Ruffy Silverstein.
Yes. A little bit of TNA.
Yes.
But Border City Wrestling. But most importantly, one of my favorite names of all time.
Well, there's a Ruffy Silverstein Sr. Do you know this?
There's an old Jewish wrestler named,
Yes.
I think.
And Ruffy was trained in Calgary, and Stu said to him, you look like Ruffy Silverstein.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to call you. Now that the original is dead, that's what we're going to call you.
But I just remember maybe reading his name, maybe, in whatever it was on the internet or in the PWIs or whatever it might be. But I probably, as a Jew, obviously.
Right.
Just such a great name.
Yes.
Such a great name.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I started training with him in
What year was this?
in Canada. I don't know. I was in grade 12, if that makes sense.
Really?
That's a Canadian thing to say, by the way.
Oh, a senior.
Grade 12.
You were, no. Yeah, we would say senior year.
Yes.
Yeah,
we don't have
so
that.
you're
for whatever
17,
reason.
18 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm milling around. And it was one of those weird things where we had an athletic commission and you had to be 18 and blah, blah, blah. And then just when I sent it in, they stopped.
They said,
So I'm
yeah.
like, amazing. So yeah, and then I started there for a while, and that was fun. And then I went to Squared Circle, Rob Fuego in Toronto and stuff, and milled around and started
And just been doing. Have you
work in the area.
So
yes.
because I think the funny thing is the big shine is the Nickelodeon show, right? Or
Yeah, I guess. Can we clarify, just for my sake? It was a show that was.
I don't know much about it. I just know here's the backstory on me to you.
Yes.
Was Sanjay Dutt's a big fan of yours, and he's like, you got to see this guy. And then this was maybe 6 years ago,
Okay.
and then I looked at your promo. I was like, damn. And then he's like, he's on this show, and then I'm watching
Right.
YouTube clips of you on a Nickelodeon show, and it's like the real deal.
So it was a show that's co-produced between YTV in Canada, which is like the Canadian Nickelodeon, a station in Australia, and the BBC. So it's co-produced by all three. and it airs there. There's British people, there's Australian people, and it's called Splat a lot. And it's like American Gladiators for kids, and all the gladiators have gimmicks. So we shoot things at kids and berate them, which is really my stock in trade, is just snide one-liners to children. That's like my sweet spot. So yeah, that's the show. And what happened was they were looking for a wrestler type. So they contacted some promoter in Toronto, and they brought a bunch of wrestlers in, and I auditioned, and I went to a special drama school.
See, that's what I want to kind of.
Yes.
I want to get at, but go on.
So yeah, and then I auditioned for it, and then they said, "What's your kind of wrestling gimmick?" And I did it, and they married the idea they had for the character with me, so it's now a lot more metrosexual. And
Give me a time frame on this. So where are you in your wrestling career? When was this?
I'm just a couple years in, maybe 3 years in, and I'm in university.
Okay.
I'd finished, yes. So I'm in university. I think university is just ending as I do this show. And just as this happened, it's weird. Are you familiar with the movie Monster Brawl?
Yeah, a bunch of wrestlers from Toronto, right?
Yes. Nash is in it. Kurgan's in it.
Yeah.
Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall, who I'm sure is listening. That also fell out of the sky literally at the same time. So it was this just weird.
And you're in that?
I'm in it.
Oh, okay.
I play two roles.
Monster and Brawler.
Yes, I'm the werewolf and the mummy. So I really Eddie Murphy'd the shit out of this thing. You can't, I did it all at the same time.
I didn't know that was a verb.
Well, you know what I mean.
I
He's
understand.
like, oh, who do we play? I'll play everybody. Well, there's an old Chinese guy. No problem. So yeah, I did that all at the same time, which is the craziest. That was a bizarre whirlwind of filming the movie and filming the show and then wrestling on the weekends.
And then also wrestling.
Yeah. Okay. And then I was like, wow, this kind of helps. Everything seemed to help everything else. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And did you, you tell me.
Yes.
When did that show end?
Well, they did 2 seasons. They did 56 episodes, and then which is more than enough for children. So it's in syndication now. So maybe 3 years ago, it's done.
And then has acting or anything moved up, or was that like the peak of?
No, I mean, I think that was the peak so far, like television wise, as a real regular gig, and of something that's still on. And then I did a couple movies. I was on the Disney Channel show. I was on a BBC show, and I was in a web series for NBC. They do their own. Everyone has their streaming. Everyone's streaming now. CISO.
What'd you do? I did a CISO thing
It's called The Amazing Gail Pyle, and I'm on an episode of that, which is it's a very weird show, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
How strange it is, and I don't even know when it comes out.
What was your character on Splat?
Splat a lot. Gildar, who was supposed to be a dead serious Viking.
Was that a show? Like, because obviously we're in America, we don't get it. Was that like a big deal?
Splat a lot?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say so. Yeah, like kids recognize me
when I
was on when I was at and their mothers.
Yeah.
So it worked. It was in the sweet spot of that family programming, where it's also supposed to entertain the adults.
And did you find were you getting booked as a wrestler and getting good gigs
off of that?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, wrestling promoters are perhaps not the savviest and don't know exactly how to market that and go, hey, kids. But then we did. I mean, there was a lot of people who ended up coming to wrestling shows just from following me on Twitter after they saw the show.
They weren't putting you on posters like Nickelodeon or why?
I don't know what they as seen on. I think they can say that, and I think they did.
Did you think they should, or did you not care?
I think they should take advantage
of
it.
Of course.
Why wouldn't you? They do, somebody was on Sunday Night Heat 12 years ago. They're they have the logo for life on the poster.
I think of I remember with Nick Aldis, they would, be pushing the Gladiators.
Right.
And Matt Morgan.
Yeah.
And you try to get some more butts in the seats, I guess. Right.
So yeah, and I guess it's an odd way to market, to try to find families to market to. You know what I mean? It's hard to just really find them. But yes, it was a fun show. And then the second season, they had built me a gorilla position. Are you ready for this?
I don't know.
So the second season, when I was not on, I would all the actors had earpieces, and I would be feeding them one-liners.
Oh my God.
So I was the king of snide remarks.
Because so you were so good at the one-liners in the first season, they were
Yes.
like, we gotta.
Yes. Can you feed? And
Is that extra pay?
Yeah, it was some weird thing where they could pay you more because you some weird thing. But I mean, that was like a total thrill that, oh my God, I can be 6 people. And now there's jokes that you have in your head, but you can't say because it's filtered through you. Now I have, there's a black girl from England who's does amazing theater out there, and she can kill stuff that I could not. There's a crazy guy from Australia that could hit stuff that I just could not. There's a guy from England who was so straight-laced that we made him do obscure references every episode. And that's just me. So if you're watching the show and you hear bizarre lines from Goodfellas, it's me in a booth just dying.
So not my question is, but like I've had that before where you're like in the perfect situation. You're like, you love what's going on. And this goes to a lot of when wrestlers retire. It's just like they can't. You want that again, and you can't get it anymore. Or even when people are fired from WWE and they're on your shows, I feel it's the same situation. It's like I'm sure that was like the highest of the high.
Yeah.
And is it like, were you like, you can't cancel this? I need to get this, right?
Well, it was just such an amazing. It was literally like just do what you like, have as much fun as possible.
How do you find that in your life now that that's gone?
It's very difficult.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, a busybody in a sense of like I do a lot of writing online. Like I wrote for Bro Bible for a while, stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. And then a lot of freelance writing just because I have thing. And then I guess the comedy, I just have it in my bones where I kind of need to work it off.
Are you looking for the perfect vehicle?
Yeah, and I mean that's I guess a once in a lifetime thing
Yeah.
where they're like, hey, make these people say whatever you want,
Right.
put in whatever reference you want to do. Earth, Wind, and Fire songs the whole episode. Knock yourself out.
Fuck. But I'm the same. Like I find like maybe it's almost like when I do that Fringe and like I do it for like 30 days in a row. It's just like I want to do this every night.
Yeah.
And then you're not doing it, and then you got to wait a whole year.
Yeah.
And but I mean, I guess keeping yourself. For myself, it's keeping myself busy. I guess
Yeah.
I'm still wrestling. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. when
You
I'm-
wrestle?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do when I'm done. It's so depressing. I'm just depressing myself through you doing one-liners on a TV show. So you studied theater.
Yes, yeah. I went to in high school it was a special drama program. You had to audition and get in. And,
While wrestling.
Well, in high school, so I started wrestling as I was getting out of when I was a senior.
Yeah.
I was getting out of that. Yeah.
So when you went to university, you weren't doing theater.
And, yes, a little bit. It was a weird major. My major is culture and entertainment. So it's a little
you
bit
were
of
be an entertainer.
hello. It was a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Which was great, and a lot of the. And of course, I wrote most of my papers on wrestling.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, good stuff. There's not that much out there. I've read, I think, every academic paper, and it's so snob. It's so like condescending towards wrestling.
Well, so when you think of like higher art and pro wrestling, like
Yes.
what comes to your mind?
Well, this is my thing, and I know the name of the podcast, and I'd like to ask you, I always feel like for art, there should be art. There should be like a message you're trying to get across.
Do you want to know where the name of this podcast came from?
Go ahead.
There's a song called "The Art of Gankin'"
Okay.
from the Splat pack.
So obviously there's no message behind it. Perfect. That's fine. That's all I wanted. I'm fine. So yeah, I mean it is artistic, right? Where it's a certain set of rules and tools to use. And then I'm just I get I guess very experimental when I wrestle and when I cut promos now.
I guess besides your own stuff, like when you if you're explaining to a friend and someone's like, "This is dumb,"
Yes.
Like there's I don't know, when I did Marin's podcast,
Right.
Beforehand he did this whole thing on Roland Barthes,
Yes.
right?
Very
so
familiar.
So it's kind of that thing. Like if you're explaining it, like and they're like, "You're dumb. You do dumb wrestling."
No. I say if you go to a wrestling show and you just see people hitting each other, you're watching a bad wrestling show. I'm obsessed with taking someone who doesn't know it and making them a fan. That's the just amazing thing. That's how this business will grow.
Well, who do you show them, or what do you send them to, or you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I'm saying that's my goal when I wrestle.
When you wrestle.
I want to make everyone go, oh, I don't have to be really in
Do
the
you
know to get
like
this.
in my head? I just.
Do you show people?
It was never you, but it was just like, hey, here, watch this person.
Somebody else.
Sorry.
Wow. At the beginning, I had it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I just love that. And I don't think you need to know wrestling to watch me wrestle or to watch you wrestle and to be entertained by it.
We have the same, I think we have the same wavelength.
Yes.
So as my popularity grew, there was like backlash, maybe in my own head, but on the internet or whatever it might be, he's doing this style and you're going to, you'll hit that if you haven't hit it already.
Right.
Right. And if I started doubting myself, I'd always be like, but there's always those people who come to the show and they go, I brought my friend, they've never seen wrestling and they loved you.
Yes.
And they loved your style. And so like I'm like almost sacrificing the person who's very snide.
Right.
And is very inside everything.
Yeah.
For the idea of maybe I can turn somebody.
Because I feel like that condescending person will be a fan for life, and he has been a fan for life. And you just want to make you want this thing to grow.
I'm willing to sacrifice myself.
Yeah.
For the love of wrestling.
And you know what drives me insane? I was just thinking about it, 'cause I was just watching it. There's like a thing where like just in the rock and wrestling era, and like Andy Warhol's there checking it out. And like Blondie's there. This is like the hippest thing in New York. And I'm like, how can we get there? Can we not get that? I don't know. It's just a question I always have.
Well, you don't think, when you see the guys like at PWG and some of those guys,
Yes.
It's the same concept, but
Yes.
it's not Blondie and Andy Warhol in
No.
front of 70,000 people.
Right.
But I do think we are in the era where there's a giant thing running down. We're in
There we
a
go.
barricade.
It's past us now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think of stuff like PWG, and I think of stuff like ICW in Scotland.
Yes.
And Lucha Vavoom. But I guess, the goal is how do you take those from 1,000 people to 40,000? And I think as long as WWE is
Right.
Do you? I guess I don't want to say anything like your thoughts on I don't know.
No,
on
I don't have any. I mean, they're doing their business. That's totally what their business is.
Right.
I just, it's almost like Starbucks. They're so big, and then there's other people who make other kinds of coffee, like butter coffee, for example, because it's real. I love butter coffee. Right?
Do people tell you you're not meant for the indies? You're a WWE wrestler? Do you ever hear that?
Yeah. I mean, and I often by that I think they mean I work the camera.
Right.
And I'm very entertainment oriented.
And I mean that by you don't have the super indie moves set.
Right.
But you tell the story and you're
Yes.
very good at the little things and you do it.
Right.
You know how to do it. And you have it.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I get you, right? That's the second time. And that is the stuff I obsess over, because that's what I feel is perhaps not missing, but I feel like that stuff is perhaps the key to get Andy Warhol back in the arena.
So the main point of this all is dare I say from an outsider's perspective, is it doesn't, maybe that's why you, and again, I mean this in the nicest way,
Yes.
can't break through this weird indie topia of whatever it is, because maybe I don't know if you're meant for a different thing, or I don't know what it is.
Right.
And does that frustrate you, and are you looking for your thing or your place?
I mean, of course, it would frustrate me naturally, but I've also learned, to when I'm when I'm myself and I feel like I am really doing something, it's when I'm allowed kind of that little box to do what I do. And if you're in a situation or a place that doesn't allow that, it's very hard for you to fit into a mold. Not that there's just one mold. There's a bunch of different. But I would say I'm kind of a unique, you know what I mean? To be myself, I have to kind of be a little off center. I guess it's a lot to get. Not that it's You know what I mean? It's obscure.
Sure.
I'm an obscure fellow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm something to get, and if I don't have the room to get it, then it's very difficult.
Well, like in your head, what's your? Do you have a plan of how you're gonna get to what you want? I don't know how.
No, and then at a certain point, and it's crazy to say, I don't even know exactly what I want to do.
What you want, right?
And I say that in an excited way, where I'm like, so then maybe something new comes from this, and I want to say, like your podcast, you know what I mean? Something that's really birthed out of.
Right. It wasn't a thing, then it became a thing.
Right.
And now it's my thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, maybe that I just go off in a different, direction. I had a very, I'm going to drop the rest of my resume. I was in a movie called The Masked Saint with Piper.
Roddy Piper, yeah.
Which is, I think, his last movie or whatever. And we filmed it up north in Toronto, in Ontario. Nothing around. The town closes at like 9 o'clock. So one night he's like, hey, meet me in my hotel room and we'll talk and blah. And we spent yes.
Were you the only wrestlers on the thing?
There were a couple other wrestlers, but I had a scene with him and he knew me from before. We had done a pilot together and.
What pilot had you done?
Oh, we did one called Body Slam. Brett's in it too. It's on YouTube.
Oh,
they did a short film as a demo pilot or whatever.
Not Roddy Piper and Jesse Ventura. That was on NBC.
No,
was that Body Slam?
No,
Maybe
this
not.
is called. Yeah, this is also called Body Slam.
Okay. Or the
I
movie.
wish.
Roddy Piper was in a movie called Body Slam.
Roddy Piper's done everything called Body Slam.
A song, a book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Body Slam was with Piper and Brett, which is just hilarious. What a weird dream state I was in to be like, yeah, you're in a show and these two guys. And then, to do the movie with him, and I'm going to drop this obscure name. Diane Carroll is in the movie. Nothing. She dated David Frost Nixon. She was in Porgy and Bess with Sammy Davis Jr. She was married to the wonderful lounge singer Vic Damone. She was on Julie and Julia. She was like the first single black woman on a sitcom, and it was a big thing. She pinched my ass. She was a real sweet woman.
Oh.
But so anyways, I mean, Roddy was just took the whole night of getting in the sauna, two men, and it was like
You're a real sauna guy. I can see you being a sauna guy.
I just need the phlegm and then I'm there. Yeah. It was like in the Sandlot when Babe Ruth comes out of the closet and gives the guy just all this.
Not sexually. He actually came out of the closet. Yeah.
Babe Ruth was a homosexual.
Ghost Babe Ruth.
Yes, only Ghost Babe Ruth. The afterlife is a little more experimental. But that was just the most amazing experience. And he just taught me stuff that, when you go to seminars and especially when you started and it's like guys just talk about locking up for an hour and then tell road stories and then that's it. He just said so many little things that I didn't even understand. He's on a totally different level as a human being. And I was just, oh my God. And that, gave me a lot of confidence to go, this is what I'm doing. Nobody seems to be doing this. I believe in what I'm doing.
Right.
Wherever that takes me, whatever. I believe in what I'm doing. I enjoy it. This is, I think, who I am. And if it takes me somewhere, then
and
let's go.
Is wrestling that? Is that one or is that?
What do you mean? Priority wise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not priority one, or if they were like, you could do whatever you want, hey,
right.
Hey, or NBC, I don't even know. Somebody calls up and they're like, what do you can here's $1 million. What do you want it to put it in? Can you be like, I wanted to start a wrestling thing?
Well, yeah. And
something based off
I've
of
thought
wrestling.
about it, and we kicked around an idea for a long time with a bunch of different people about a TV show about wrestling.
Sure.
Not a wrestling
show.
And I always think no matter what I do, it will have an element of
wrestling.
Of that. It's not, it's me. It's not too different. It's not like Michael Jordan playing baseball. You know what I mean? Where he's like, no, I'm done with basketball. It's always just, I just see them both in my head. And there's certain things that you can only do wrestling wise. That level of animosity doesn't really exist anywhere else. Like when we did a promo together that first time, I loved it. I can't get that anywhere else. I just met you. You totally came to play. We threw insults at each other. And even though, it just fires you up. And you're like, well, I want to see this match now. Stuff like that. I'm like, this is so unique. I'd like to get that.
That's what gets you going.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good?
Yeah.
There's nothing else?
You have it. That's it. You
I have it.
Do you have anything that I want to make sure? Was there anything when you did the podcast in your own head, which I'm sure that you did because you said you were in your own head?
Yeah, no,
I've done
I
that
just
before.
compared myself, and I'm like, this is going to be bad. This is not going to be as good as Scott Norton's.
You didn't have your own. I've done podcasts before where like I'm about to do it, and I just like I'd start doing the podcast in my head.
I tell you what I did. I did, and then this happens a lot. I'll just blow it out. My brain will go into total overdrive,
Okay.
and I'll do it so many times that it'll just explode, and I'm just like, now I've got nothing. I hope this is good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big Jerry Lewis fan. Did you want to talk about that?
If you,
No, I've had just a very odd friends, odd acquaintances, people speaking to me like Piper and stuff like that, and it's shaped my weird.
what's the you do have an affinity for the old time, but that's just because the TV was on as a kid.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
like
guess
the weird Jerry Lewis and the Mr. Saturday
Jerry
Night.
Lewis was always yes,
Right, Billy Crystal.
My grandmother would really push the old stuff, and then I was just in love with it. I was like, this is very funny. I'm on a real Don Knotts kick right now, just because it's hilarious. He's just killing me.
What do? You watch? See, I'm in a thing where I can't. I know this is gonna suck, and you're gonna hate it. I might have told you this before. Like before 1983, like I can't watch it.
Okay, here's where I am. After 1983, I can't watch it. I go, what is this? So hip.
I don't know if it's like the technology or just like maybe it's not because society's so quick.
Right.
Like there's no cuts, right?
Yes.
And it's just the weird color base too of the TV shows,
Yes.
and
It really forces your attention.
yeah,
And it's a hard thing
especially
for people
black
to
and
deal
white.
with.
I can't watch anything in black and
Black and white. Although I will say, and I'm sure people will email you with their thoughts on this. I feel like the Twilight Zone is the Twilight Zone. It's so successful because it's in black and white.
I never got into the Twilight Zone.
I'm gonna sing you a series of DVDs.
Oh fuck!
It's
I used to
amazing.
watch it like I think it was on after Saturday Night Live when
That
we
makes
were
sense.
kids.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so maybe I'd watch some here and there, but I never got into it.
Yeah.
You know what I think of after Saturday Night Live is, and you can appreciate too,
Yes.
is obviously I think I got into comedy because I was waiting for Saturday Night's Main Event to show up,
Right.
And most of the week Saturday Night Live would show up, so I'd watch it.
Yes.
and then there's SCTV would always show
I'm
up.
such
on.
a fan of SCTV.
And I imagine I haven't gone back and watched them.
You need to. It's very, very on the level of they're parroting 4 things at once. And
Right.
if you don't get it, it's still funny, but you really need to get it.
I remember watching that. I remember watching that like as an 8 or 9 year old
Yeah.
and being like, I knew this was like, and that was probably like the first alternative, not the first alternative, but like I knew like, oh, this isn't like mainstream.
No.
And I don't know how I'm watching it. Like it's
Yeah.
on some TV channel
Yes.
and somebody was putting
The
it
makeup
on.
is amazing, and they will adhere to whatever the genre is they're doing. If they're doing a horror movie, it will be a little scary because they'll do it so well.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Just back to the belief of believing in the imaginary gun or the lawnmower. They really believe what they're doing, and that resonates. That's a very me show. Just
It seems
obsure
like-
thing.
Well, it's Canadian also.
And it's also
you're
Canadian.
older. All
Yes.
right. RJ, where you at on the internet?
RJ City at RJ City 1. That's the number 1 on Twitter. Although I feel like I don't know. Do people can they not just Google RJ City and a bunch of things come up?
Yeah, but I mean, you throw it out real quick and then
Okay.
it's in their head and they
Yes.
know, or they know what you're on, right?
Yes, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. I'm on Snapchat. I'm going through a Don Knotts phase, so bear with me.
What do? You just do videos of Don Knotts?
Yeah.
Of yourself?
Sometimes I'll do the face swap, Don Knotts.
Is there?
Hi, a cult like that, and then people must be. There's 12-year-old girls who watch this and go, "What is this?" And then what else? There's a new app called Talk Show.
I don't
One
know
of the
about
Twitter guys invented it, and it's like public texting. So you have your own. I'll show it to you after. I'm doing a thing called Golden Girls 2016 plots.
Oh my God.
Where I just put up a GIF and
I feel
make up a
so
plot.
hip right now.
Yeah.
That like I know a guy who knows someone that I'm like in on the, okay, I got to get Colt Cabana on Talk Show, right?
Yes.
At Colt Cabana? Or-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very odd thing. And yes, find me on those.
Facebook?
Find places. Facebook,
And
RJ
do you have a
City.
website or no?
No. Is that a thing anymore?
I like a home base.
Really?
I like a home base, yeah.
Oh.
So it's like, like if I have, because everyone does have a million things.
Yes.
At Colt Cabana or coltcabana.com, and then you can go there and click through to whatever.
Right. I use so many websites I go to, and maybe it's because I'm going to Don Knotts' website. It's just so outdated. Do you know what I mean? People don't update it. They'd
Don
rather
Knotts
update
still has his website?
No, may he rest in peace,
Okay.
Donald.
I'm aware. Great.
Yes,
This
thank
is it.
you.
I hope people.
I hope Scott Norton enjoys this.
And how old are you?
26.
26.
Yeah.
Because I assume after this whole thing, people were like, he's 45.
64. A 64-year-old man.
Well, listen, the future is yours. You have it. Thanks for being on the show.
So sweet of you.
And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Luck be a lady tonight. All right, the croon master himself, RJ City. Very entertaining, very fun to watch, very fun to wrestle. Put him on that list. You heard him when on The Art of Wrestling as he goes on to bigger, better, and greater things. That is the show for this week. Before we get out of here, let's get into some plugs and
Upcoming events.
All right, the best way you can support ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana, Facebook /AOW Podcast, also /Colt Cabana. Listen to the past archives on Howl.fm. Use the code COLT. Get a free month subscription. ColtWrestling@gmail.com is my very public email. Maybe a promoter want to put me on your upcoming show or convention. Cut my promo. And worstpromoever.com, where you can see some of my fun YouTube stuff. ColtCabana.com is my website. Got a P.O. box on there. I love getting snail mail. Upcoming this Friday, July 1st, Marion, Illinois, GlobalForceWrestling.com. Sunday, July 3rd, Denver, Colorado, Lucha Libre and Laughs.com. Wednesday, July 6th, I'm hosting Podcast Awards in Chicago, PodcastMovement.com. Friday, July 8th, Baltimore, Maryland, ROHWrestling.com. Saturday, July 9th, Summit, Illinois, ResistancePro.com. Saturday, July 16th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, ROHWrestling.com. Sunday, July 17th, Toronto, Canada, DestinyWorldWrestling.com. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, July 29th through the 31st, London, England, London Film and ComicCon.com. I'm also doing some live podcasts there. August 1st and 2nd, Birmingham, Manchester. Brendan and I are taking the show on the road as we head up to Edinburgh. I do have some wrestling dates there. August 6th, Reckless-Intent.com, Livingston. August 13th, Shop.DiscoveryWrestling.com, Edinburgh. August 21st, Facebook /Absolute Wrestling, Newcastle. August 27th, Facebook /SWE Online, Dundee. And August 28th, InsaneWrestling.com, Glasgow. And then, of course, all of August, I'm doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Grab your tickets at pleasance.co.uk. That is the show for this week. A big thank you to you guys at home for listening and subscribing and telling your friends. I really appreciate it. Thanks to RJ City for being on the show. Thanks to Jeff and Stu Stone. Thanks to Kid Russell, Matt Jenkins on the music. Dave Miller with that tech. Let's thank some sponsors. HighSpots.com. Hundreds of full-length titles available to download. A great VOD service. A great subscription box service. You can also get wrestling gear, a wrestling ring, masks, you name it. They got it. OneHourTees.com. They help support ProWrestlingTees.com, who have one of the greatest sales going on right now through July 4th. 20% off. Use the code America. ProWrestlingTees.com and TweakedAudio.com/Colt. The earbuds that I use get over 30% off and free shipping just because you listen to this show. And that's the show for this week. We are done. I hope you enjoy your July 4th. I hope you have a great time. I guess that was kind of ignorant. There's a lot of people who aren't in America and just don't give a fuck. But hey, you still have a July 4th and have a good time while having a July 4th. Even though it's just a normal Monday for you, have a good time, all right? That's all I wish. All right, I'm out of here. Guys, this has been The Art of Wrestling. For Colt Cabana, I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.